Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4 recently came out, and as the so-called tutorial guy, it's my obligation to make tutorials, because that's what I do. So here's the tutorial for how to beat the Chapter 3 secret boss, the Roaring Knight. Wait a second, the Knight's not secret, you fight him in the normal route. You don't fight him, he cooks your team easily, that's not a fight. If you have a really good memory, or are a nerd, you might remember that back in Chapter 2, Sham talked about the shadow crystals that you get for fighting the secret bosses. But he said that the next boss will be really difficult and will require the Shadow Mantle. Okay, so get the Shadow Mantle and then fight the Knight. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, the thing is, the Shadow Mantle is pretty difficult to get and has its own boss. Technically, you can beat the Knight without the Mantle, but it's so much easier to spend the time to get it than trying to beat this guy without taking like 3 hits. So this video is going to be kind of split into 2 parts. The first on how to get the Shadow Mantle, and the second on tips on beating the Knight.
Part 1, the Shadow Mantle.
The path to getting the Shadow Mantle starts pretty early after you start the chapter. You need to get into this S rank room in the green room, which means that you need to get an S rank in both round 1 and 2. This can be done by having good battles and doing well on the physical challenge. There are 3 requirements to get a high score on battles. You need to get your TP meter to at least 70, you need to take the least amount of turns possible, and you have to avoid getting hit. The last one is pretty self-explanatory, but the fastest way to complete battles is by attacking enemies and then pacifying them when they get low. If you perfect everything, you get a T rank. It's not really useful because you only need an S, but they can help outweigh any negative ranks you get in the chapter. If you have an S rank during the rounds, the physical challenge becomes pretty easy to do if you just actively play and watch out for these guys. If you don't want to go through all the work of getting an S rank on these rounds, there are 2 alternatives. You can buy an S rank from this guy down here for 1500 points, but I'd say save that for round 2, as it's really hard to get 1500 points if you don't get an S. The other method is to get the unhighly coveted Z rank. This means you have to do so bad on everything, but not completely fail. On the battles, you should take a lot of hits and a lot of turns, have your TP always below 70, but don't die. One good way to stop yourself from dying and to decrease your TP is to use Rousey's heal prayer. For the cooking game, you have to do basically the bare minimum. If you get a score that's too low, then Tenno will make you redo the game. I actually ended up doing this somehow the first time I played the chapter. I don't even know how I did that. I guess I just really sucked. Alright, once you get the S rank or the Z rank, you will be able to make it into the S room. If you enter this door, you will be able to see Tenna's original game. This is where the fun begins. Once you pick up this controller and start playing the game, go into this room to get the sword and just kill everything. Just gulp the stuff and start stabbing it until it dies. For some of these monsters, you'll need to get to level 2. Additionally, once you get to level 2, you can destroy these shrubs. And once you get to level 3, you're done with the main board and you can destroy these cacti to get to these special rooms with more monsters. There's also this bird, but you have to destroy the trees it lands on to kill it. I don't know why the bird's there. The bird's just kind of chilling there. Once you get to max level, you can destroy these trees. You have to take this path to get to this chest so you can get the ice key. And that's only part 1. Alright, returning to normal gameplay, you'll need to get an S rank on this round through one of the 3 methods. I personally went with buying it because I got an A rank on this round. Bro, I was so close! So, I don't really have many specific tips. I guess the only thing I can really say about the physical challenge is that the timings are pretty forgiving, but you get more points for being on time and not having extra notes, despite what the combo says. I tried to spam my whole way through, and I got a combo above 250, but a C rank, so no extra notes. Yeah, there's really not much else to say beyond that. It's more of the same, so it's back to the console for more fun. Once again, you have to find the sword here and then murder everything. Once you reach level 2, you can break these bushes and take the raft up here. There's a dock right here at this rock island thing, and this path leads to this door that must be unlocked with the ice key. Inside the room, you have more things to kill. Yippee! Once you get to the max level and destroy these trees, you will meet the ice wizard person who's probably Noelle. She'll help you by freezing any enemies that you can't kill, including this penguin who's blocking your path near the entrance. Alright, from here you'll get a series of rooms that will lead you to the chest. But how do I know where to go? If the wizard follows you, you're going the right way. If she stays in the middle, that's the wrong direction, like this. Once you get to this path and open the door, you'll get the shelter key. And that's it for round 2, now back to normal gameplay. We haven't even gotten to the hard part yet, by the way. There are no more real rounds, so you just have to play through the game normally. Once you get back to the green room, it's time to get back on the games. Now it's Susie and Rousey, go into this alleyway, go down these stairs, get the sword, and kill everything around you again. But there are no monsters around me. Kill Susie and Rousey. Yep, that's the only way to get into this next part. This doesn't mess up anything else if you're on a pacifist route up until now, because it's a game console, you're not killing anything. Alright, you're almost done. All you have to do is get max level here. If you need some more HP, there's this whole room with a bunch of guys that you can just kill and they drop a lot of candy if you're low. Once you get to max level and break these trees, you can use the shelter key to get to the boss. This is the real secret boss. That's right, your minutes of dungeon crawling paid off to this. The boss has 4 phases. The first alternates between bombs and fireballs. Just keep track of where the bombs are so you can have a safe spot to move to. I like to stay down here and move up when necessary. For the fireballs, I just move to the opposite side that this guy is on and wait until the bomb attack so I can hit them. The second phase alternates between this fiery attack and this attack where they just sit there while these Pac-Man goons fight you. The fire attack is a bit unpredictable. It looks like it targets you sometimes, but not others, so slight movements are better than big ones, or you might get smacked like this. The attack always happens 4 times, so you can predict when to go up to them and start stabbing them with a sword. This attack is pretty simple. I just stay down here and hit these goons when they get close. And if you're low, they give candy. Phase 3 is just a mix of the other 2 phases. Really, the only thing to watch out for while avoiding everything else is these goons, because you have to hit them. Eventually, the attacks will become the same as in Phase 2, so just start smacking him after his fire attack. Phase 4 is the final phase. The boss will shoot a bunch of fireballs in a circle, and then go into this fiery attack until you kill them. You can attack them when they're moving like this, but I found it really difficult and kept getting hit. So instead, I smacked them as much as possible during this circle, and I won. It's probably better to move in a circle and occasionally attack, but honestly, I was just experimenting here. If you have enough health and quick enough fingers, you can try this, but I don't know if it always works. Great, you got the Shadow Mantle. Good job. Now it's time for the actual battle.
Part 2, the battle.
Over the past week, I've heard people online say that the night battle is nothing but hard. And after beating him 3 times, I could say, no, he's easy. I'm just kidding. This is a very hard battle, so you're gonna have to have a good strategy going in. First, let's start with equipment. If you have armor or weapons from Jevil and Spamton, that's great. Those are going to be the best. If you haven't gotten those, don't worry. There are these 2 vending machines near the green room. One of them sells armor and items in dark dollars, and the other one sells weapons in points. But what if I have no money? Don't worry. There's a few monsters that respawn multiple times. You can fight them and reset the room to get a lot of dollars fast. But what if I have no points because I converted them all into dark dollars? Who would ever do that? It's me, I'm the one who did that. But don't worry, there's these sneak walking sections down here, and you get 1 point for passing each spot. If you time it correctly, you can get a bunch of points in a few minutes. This is actually what I did to buy weapons. I'm not very proud of it. It's not exactly fast, but it is easy and simple. Alright, some other tips going in. The Shadow Mantle should be given to Susie. Susie is gonna be your heavy hitter here with Rude Buster, so you want her alive as long as possible. If Susie or Rousey die, they can only be revived with a Revive Mint, so use those sparingly. I personally had none, so that was really fun. If Chris dies, they can be healed back like a normal battle, so don't stress too much about Chris's death. Obviously, you want your whole party alive for as long as possible, but later on, it can get pretty difficult to keep Rousey alive, especially if you don't have any revivement, since this guy only has like 140 HP and gets killed in like 3 hits. Alright, now one thing that's going to become very handy is defending. Making your team member with the weakest attack defend will get you a lot of TP very fast. For some reason on my save, Chris's weapons did less damage than Rousey's, so I just turned Chris into a healer. Honestly, just experiment with strategies and eventually you'll find one that works. Additionally, this battle is a little strange as it happens right after Tenna's battle. Once you beat Tenna, go back and save here so that you have full health. Okay, one last thing. The best advice at getting better is to practice. The more you attempt to dodge every attack, the better you'll get over time, and eventually you'll be able to get through some hard attacks taking minimal damage. Okay, one short cutscene later, and we're ready to get into the attacks. There are only 5 completely unique attacks, but there are many variations of them to keep it interesting and annoyingly difficult. Attack number 1, Spike Gun. The knight shoots these spiky looking things, but the hitbox for these is actually very small, so you can squeeze through them very easily. I only advise doing this if you need to, because the spacing can be very tight sometimes. When they start to move back to him, find a space that's clear so you have a smaller chance of getting hit. If you need to, hold the focus button here to move slower. I don't know if enough people actually know that you can do that. If you hold X or Shift, you enter focus mode where your soul moves a lot slower. Most of the time it's pretty useless, but it comes in handy here. Attack number 2. Knives, just a lot of knives. The strategy for this attack is pretty simple, just move in a direction to not get hit like this. In practice, you'll need fast reactions, but the overall setup is very simple, so there's not really much going on. Attack number 3, box cuts. The box gets cut. Riveting description, I know. The orientation is random, sometimes it's left and right, and sometimes it's up and down. I like to stay to the bottom or the left, and make these slight fast movements in these openings. You don't have to stick to the bottom or the left, that's just what I prefer. If you have another direction that you like, then just stick to that. Staying at the corner of the box can also work, but you may have to move very quickly if there are 2 shards next to you, and you might get hit. Attack number 4, also known as Hey, I've seen this one before. It's very similar to Sans' final attack with these bones, but way tighter and a lot faster. Stay in the middle or at the back of the box and focus on the front over here. This will give you good time to react and make slight movements. This attack has a lot of projectiles, so don't get too mad if you get hit a few times. At the end, there's this sequence where you'll need to get into a space to avoid these knives. If you play this enough times, you'll start to predict when the knives stop moving. It's around 6 to 7 seconds in. Not really any good strategy to this, as it's all randomized. Sometimes you'll get lucky and there's an opening right next to you, and sometimes you'll have to move very far. Attack number 5, slices. The pattern is always 2 parts, 4 parts, 4 parts again, 6, 6, and then 8. After every slice, move to the opposite side of the screen. I like to move up and down like this. If possible, the best place to be before the red lines come up is on a corner, so the area that you have to move around in is a lot bigger. After this 5th attack, the attacks start repeating in harder variations. This is also when Susie starts speaking, if she's alive by this point. So let's get into these variations. Spike Gun, Variation 1. The shards just stay on the screen for a bit longer. Again, just get into an area with less spikes and focus move because you may have to. Box Cuts, Variation 1. While the original attack sticks to one direction, this one changes, which means the box can be cut horizontally and vertically. Whatever you do, do not stand in the middle of any sides, as you could potentially get hit by one of these cuts. The best strategy is to stay in a corner and make the same movements as before. Like with the other version, you may have to move over 2 shards like this, but you'll just need fast reactions. If you practice it enough times, you'll get it. Remember to move back into the corner after every pattern to get ready for the next one. Here's a variation to the Sans copy-paste attack, but this time it's different. Ooh! Now this one looks really hard, but there's actually a pretty easy strategy. Just start in the middle and adjust very slightly to fit inside the circle. If you move with it like this, you should end the attack down here. Knives, Variation 1, which is also known as my least favorite attack. I hate this one! For some reason, the knight goes insane here and turns up the difficulty to the max. The attack itself is pretty difficult to get through without getting hit, but your whole team also gets cooked in a matter of seconds, like Rousey and Chris die in one hit. Keep your soul in the middle of the circle and keep the circle itself in mind. The area of the circle gets smaller, so you'll need to make very quick and small movements to avoid these knives that target you. Slices, Variation 1 is just more parts of the box getting sliced, but it maxes out at 8. Same strategy as before, there's really not much else going on here. Spike Gun, Variation 2, a little different than the first two, same beginning, but once the spikes start moving backwards and break, they turn red and target you. Moving around the box in this kind of semicircle pattern can help you avoid a lot of them, but the real difficulty is getting out of the space right here when you're surrounded by shards. Box Cuts, Variation 2. As if this couldn't get any worse, we get a new direction. Yippee! Diagonally. This means the strat of staying in this corner doesn't work anymore because you can get smacked diagonally. So staying in the corner doesn't work, but you can't stay in the middle either. So stay in this area right here. When the box gets cut diagonally, your controls will be kind of messed up. What helped me was moving to the bottom of the screen when the box is cut and then moving around the shards. It doesn't work 100% of the time, but it helped me a few times. There's another version of the knives attack, similar to the first version, but just faster and a lot more knives. Slices, Variation 2, the last unique attack. Similar to the other variation, until the end where you need to move around in a circle. Similar to Sans. Is it an homage, or is Toby running out of patterns? I want to say it's an homage because there are too many patterns for him to run out of. Alright, once you attack the knight enough times, he will turn white. This is a good time for you to heal your party or what's left of it. Don't worry, you're almost done with this battle. And finally, we get the knight's last attack. Stay a little bit below the middle of the screen so you have enough space to move around. Move around these spikes in a circle here and just dodge these. Unlike other bosses, you can die to this final, though the damage is very low, so remember to keep dodging. It's completely randomized, so it's all up to you to dodge. Once you beat that attack, and you hit him one more time, you've won the battle. That was a difficult one, probably the most difficult that Toby has made. I don't know why the scaling for these boss battles has gone all the way up, but anyway, good job! You're a master of video games now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more video game tutorials, I guess. Chapter 4 Secret Boss Tutorial coming out soon when I actually finish making it.